All right. Well, obviously, we all know by now the Eagles uh, took care of business last week against the Saints and got the win there. Comfortable win. Um, I believe it was 39-17 was the final. 38-17, 39-17, something like that. Um, but you know, obviously, obviously, you must excuse the fact that um, I was um, I was certainly relieved. And people say, oh well, it was the Saints. They were struggling coming in, blah blah blah. But you know what? A win in the National Football League is certainly good, and certainly the way the past 4 weeks have gone. It was encouraging to see how they played a week ago. Obviously, got off to a slow start. I mean, they were down 7-0. Bradford with two interceptions in the end zone, and you really can't have that. But they certainly made up for it, and had a terrific rest of the game. And Fletcher Cox was awarded with the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, deservingly so. I think he had like 3 sacks, something like that. Forced a couple fumbles, both recovered by the Eagles. Brandon Graham had one, and Jordan Hicks had the other. Hicks again, always around the ball. And again, it was a great win. And I did say to my boss and my coworker that Friday, before before the game against the Saints, going into the weekend, I said, the Eagles, this season's really going to come down to, at least, to see if we still have a shot or not to do anything this season. It's going to come down to the next 2 weeks, because if they can beat the Saints, it sets up a huge game. Monday night coming up against the Giants at home. And obviously it all started by beating the Saints, and that's what they did. They had a big win against the Saints. They had their first really full game effort of the season. Again, the interceptions in the end zone withstanding, getting down 7-0, but with all that, they still were able to bounce back and really have a dominant rest of the game on both sides of the ball. And special teams played well too. So, this is something that we were kind of waiting to see this season. Again, for the most part, the Eagles have played pretty good defensively during the year. I know, they gave up that last drive to the Redskins and Kirk Cousins to lose, the game at Washington. But realistically, even with the injuries they've had at linebacker, they've played pretty good, for the most part this season. I mean, could they have played better, on that last drive? Absolutely. They should have got more pressure on Kirk Cousins. They should have got more pressure on Kirk Cousins that whole game, let alone the last drive. But, going into last week's game against New Orleans, all the talk was, well, Breeze gets rid of the ball quick. He's tough to, he reads defenses really well, and that might be so. I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer in my estimation. But they got to him. They were able to pressure him, and Fletcher Cox played, like he's been playing the last few seasons. I mean, he has really been kind of one of those, under the radar guys. I mean, he had a really solid season a year ago. Probably should have made the Pro Bowl. Didn't, and he probably has that as a chip on his shoulder this year. And he's had a great season so far. Again, he's the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Reigning Defensive Player of the Week, and he's played really well. The defensive line has played pretty well. They gave up one rushing touchdown so far, and that was really a fluky touchdown when Cousins fumbled the ball and picked it up and went in for the touchdown. But the defense has played pretty well, and give them credit where the credit when the credit's due. Same with the offensive line. Last week they had their first really solid game as a unit. I know they played pretty good against the Jets and in a win at the Meadowlands. And if you think about it, the Eagles' offensive line has played well really for 2 games, and the Eagles have won both games. The Eagles' offensive line hasn't played particularly well for 3 games, and the Eagles lost all 3. So hopefully going into Monday night. Hopefully Monday night they play good, against the Giants, who are coming off a pretty miraculous win against the Niners, and even with the injuries that the Giants had, with the receivers, they were still able to get a win. Their last, the game-winning drive by Eli last week to beat the 49ers. But with that, and kind of going back to what I said earlier, going back to what I said last Friday or a couple Fridays ago, before the Saints, game that Sunday, I said the Eagles have to win this game and put themselves in a ooh, I can't get the words out all of a sudden. Put themselves in a situation where that Monday night game against the Giants is going to be huge. Win or lose for the Giants that week, it's still going to be huge. Against the 49ers, win or lose, it's still going to be huge because we'll still be a game behind them even if they win. And obviously, a win on Monday night not only gives the Eagles a 3-3 record, same as the Giants, but they have that tiebreaker, at least for now, with the head-to-head. And I'll play them again at the very last week of the regular season in the Meadowlands. But, it's a huge game, obviously. Prime time, home. Last time they played at home in a bit of a primetime game. It was a 4:30 kickoff, but they had their worst game of the year, really, against Dallas. So hopefully this time around, primetime game, they'll be better off for it. So yeah, the Eagles come into this game 2-3. The Giants are 2-3. No, excuse me, 3-2. had that reversed, but yeah, the Giants are 3-2 because they did beat the 49ers. Giants are 3-2. Eagles are 2-3. Redskins and Dallas are all 2-3. So a win here, and that's a division game. It's a division win, and you beat the team that's in first place in the division in the Giants. And this really has been a poor division so far. Dallas, of course, with the key injuries there, they haven't won a game since that. The Redskins have been, hit or miss week to week. Last week they lose on a pick six in overtime to Atlanta, in Atlanta. And, of course, the Eagles beat the Saints. So, going into this week, the Eagles have a golden opportunity to get to 500 and to have a huge win against a division rival who's in first place right now, in the New York Football Giants. And, I think the Eagles are going to fare pretty good. I like how they played a week ago. I know it was against the Saints who were struggling coming in, but, actually, the Saints were coming off a win coming into that game. They beat Dallas in overtime the week before, but I like how the Eagles are playing. I like how they put it together last week, had full effort, played a good game. Got a lot of pressure on Drew Brees, a guy who gets rid of the ball quick. And you talk about this week, you have Eli Manning, another quarterback that this season has really done well. Getting the ball out of his hands quickly. He's really found his way in that offense now. But the thing is that Odell Beckham Jr. may or may not play, not really sure. And Reuben Randall, is another one of those question marks because they both have hamstring injuries. And even if they do play, they're certainly not going to be as quick, maybe as effective, to get to those spots where Eli will be, able to get rid of the ball quick. Now, obviously, the Giants have Shane Vereen. They have Larry Donnell who scored the winning touchdown a week ago. So you got to be able to cover these guys. If indeed Beckham Jr. does play or doesn't play or whatever, there's still guys you got to cover. And as we know, going into that game against the Redskins were without Deshaun Jackson. The Dallas game, they were without Antonio Bryant, and both of those were losses. So certainly, all teams are going to go through injuries during a season. The Eagles have injuries too. They're going to be without Michael Kendricks again, and Kiko Alonso and now Nelson Aguilar is going to be out too. So they're not without their injuries, but injuries or not, you still got to play your opponent. It's still a team in the NFL, and you got to get up for them, particularly this week because it's a division opponent and a team that's in first place. Now, in recent years, the Eagles have had a pretty good history against the Giants. Last year, they swept them. They were 2 for 2, including that primetime game where they shut the Giants out. I believe it was 27-0. Basically the same time last year, and again, they were wearing the black jerseys, the alternate black jerseys, and they're wearing them again this week. Coincidence? Probably not. But they're wearing them again, and they're also going to honor Brian Westbrook. Giants fans remember him. Beat the Giants in the Meadowlands those years ago on a punt return. The Eagles have had a history of having some special games in the Meadowlands over the years. But he'll be going to the Eagles Hall of Fame, so congrats to Brian Westbrook. He was a great Eagle for many years. Had some special games with the Eagles. Was on the team that went to the Super Bowl in 2004, or 2005, I should say, February. But that 2004-05 season. So he'll be honored, during the game, going to the Eagles Hall of Fame. And again, last year they thumped the Giants in those alternate jerseys in Philly on a primetime game, and they're playing them again Monday night in the alternate black jerseys. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, hopefully, history repeats itself. But over the years, the Eagles have played really well against the Giants, and in fact, I think if I remember hearing this correct, the Eagles have won 14 of the last 11 meetings with the Giants. So Eli Manning actually in his career has had the fewest success of any team, any opponent that he's gone up against. He's had the fewest success against the Eagles. The Eagles have always found a way to seem to get him, to pressure him. There's been some miraculous wins against the Giants in that time span. Also, of course, back in 2010, the Miracle in the Meadowlands #3 with Deshaun Jackson. So yeah, the Eagles have certainly had some success over the Giants over the years, and particularly against Eli Manning. Eli Manning, has not been very comfortable against the Eagles defense for many seasons. So hopefully that continues on Monday night. The Giants are also defensively, they have their issues too. Now they have been pretty good against the run. But in the secondary, it's been a bit of a mess. Teams have been able to pass on them. The 49ers were able to pass on them a week ago. And I do expect the Eagles to be able to move the ball in this defense. Not to look down, at all. Of course, the Giants' defense is coached by Tom Spagnuolo. Eagles, we certainly remember him when he was here for a time as a coordinator, and also, he was with the Giants before, was with the team that won the Super Bowl, but then he went and won, went to be a head coach with the Rams. That didn't work out too well. Now he's back with the Giants as their defensive coordinator. But the difference between, the years where they were winning Super Bowls and they were having success between now is they certainly don't have the personnel that they had back then. That's not a knock on who they have now, but they don't have the Osi Umenyoras. They don't have the Michael Strahans. They don't have, Pierce at middle linebacker. They don't have those pieces that they once had, particularly with pass rush. Those Giants teams that won the Super Bowls had a dynamic pass rush, whether it was, Michael Strahan, Umenyora, JPP. They certainly had guys that could rush the passer. They don't really have that right now. They are stout against the run. They have been able to stop the run, but linebacker play, they have some youth there. The secondary now, they don't even have Prince Amukamara isn't playing. See, I can't talk tonight for some reason. I don't know. Tongue has been tied, but they are a defense that you can pass against, and I know Bradford has been wildly inconsistent. But at the same time, he obviously the 2 interceptions withstanding in the end zone last week, he had a pretty good game. He had a pretty good game against the Redskins. It seems that he's starting to get that rhythm going. It seems that he's starting to get his confidence as the weeks have gone on, with this offense and with what he has to do. So certainly, and the other thing about a week ago is they were able to run the ball really well. A very effective run game a week ago. Murray and Matthews really had a really good game running the ball. Murray, had probably his best game so far of the season a week ago. And again, the Giants possess some problems against the run, but the Eagles got to be physical. They got to be physical with them, establish a running game. You will be able to throw the ball. There will be plays to be made against this Giant secondary. The Eagles just have to go ahead, have to do it. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but I believe the Eagles will put together a pretty good offense this week and score some points as they did a week ago, even with those 2 interceptions against the Saints. And I do believe this will be a victory. I really do. I said a couple of weeks ago, I believe that they could beat the Saints. And I said if they could do that, then it sets up for a big game on Monday night against the Giants. So they beat the Saints. So they're halfway there. Now they have to take care of business against the Giants. And then they have a tough game coming up before the bye at Carolina. But of course we'll get to that that week. But certainly the Eagles right now, again, they're 2-3. They're still in the thick of it. A win on Monday night, they'll be 3-3. They'll be tied in first place with the division lead. With the Giants, and if I guess if Washington or Dallas, Dallas has a bye week. Dallas has a bye week this week. What am I thinking? Dallas has a bye week. The Redskins, we'll see what they do, but obviously the Eagles have a golden opportunity here to on Monday night home game prime time. The fans are going to be pumped. They're going to be there. To get a big win, to get the 500, 3-3. Get that division lead and get that head-to-head win against the Giants. And the other good thing, if you look at it going forward, the Eagles beat the Saints and Dallas lost to the Saints, so that's a common opponent. So somehow, if this ends up tied with Dallas, the Eagles have a tiebreaker. As long as they beat Dallas and Dallas, they'll have a tiebreaker with the common opponent there with the win against the Saints, because Dallas lost on overtime to them. And, of course, all of us in the NFC East lost to Atlanta, so there's no tiebreakers there. So these games with the Saints are going to be pretty important moving on, too. The Saints still, I believe, have to play the Giants and the Redskins, so we'll see what they do against them. Saints got a win this past Thursday night against Atlanta, gave the Falcons their first loss, and the Eagles, of course, beat the Saints. So that was a big win. That was a big win last week. I know some people were like poo-pooing it, around the league. It was the Saints, whatever. That was a pretty big win because, again, you take a look at what it could be going forward and into the next few, the end of the season. If there are tiebreakers, it's common opponent. The Eagles have beat the Saints. Dallas lost to the Saints. If it is a tie between those two, we'll see what happens with the Giants and with the Redskins when they play the Saints. But, so all in all, it was a great win against the Saints, but now, of course, going up against the Giants on Monday night, primetime football in Philly, Lincoln Financial Field. Hopefully it will be another win. The Eagles can get to 500. We'll see what they do, but I'm looking forward to it. As always, I'll be wearing my alternate black, authentic Brian Westbrook jersey. The Eagles are going to be wearing their black jersey, so I'll wear mine, and of course the Eagles are honoring B. West in that game, so we'll see. Hopefully it will be a W, and as always, let's go Birds, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you in the post game for the game against the Giants. And I apologize I couldn't get a video out sooner in the week. I was just really swamped with stuff, different things, exhausted from work, so just didn't have the chance to make a video about the Saints game until now, and looking ahead to Giants week, but we're here now, and here's the video now, so there you go. All right, everyone, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Go Birds! Bye.